After the dramatic day, a milestone vote, the Epstein files are now on the verge of being released. Tuesday, the Senate unanimously passed a bill that would force the Justice Department to release unclassified files related to the convicted sex offender. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. Alice, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chesley.
What specific records will the Justice Department be required to release, and how much detail will the public be able to see?
Yeah, this is the real question now, because a lot of people are saying the vote passing was really just one step. Now seeing what actually comes out is, of course, the end goal here. And the full files could contain more emails, text messages that haven't yet been released in past disclosures, evidence from seized hard drives, financial records, information from interviews with other players. Those are all things that survivors who say they want the American public to see who covered for Epstein, what financial institutions may have allowed his trafficking to continue. Those are the kinds of records that they are hoping will be contained in here. But there are also some questions about how much will be redacted, not only because things will be withheld that could identify any of the survivors that have not stepped forward and don't want their information shared publicly, but also because there's a clause saying that the Attorney General can withhold any information that could in some way jeopardize any other ongoing federal investigations. And President Trump just asked the Justice Department to open investigations into high-profile Democrats who have also been linked to Epstein, along with many other Republican names. And so there are questions about whether those new inquiries could hinder the release of all of the other records here.
So it will protect any kind of false accusations against individuals named in the file? It will do that?
So that is a central question that House Speaker Mike Johnson had brought up, because he and other Democratic, or rather Republican leaders, along with President Trump, had so long opposed this particular vote, this particular mechanism for getting to transparency. He has been arguing that it does not do enough to protect the identities, in fact, of the survivors because of how it's worded, and that it could create new victims by releasing the names of people who were mentioned in the files, but that the information was not credible or determined to be false, and they were ultimately cleared. That may not be clear through just putting all of the information out into the public. And he says there could be innocent people who would be harmed because of that. So I'm not sure it's clear that there are protections for people who would be mentioned, but then would have to say, I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe this and this is what shows that I was cleared of any wrongdoing.
Oh, Alice, what's the potential legal or investigative action that could follow if new names or new evidence is revealed in this file?
Yeah, so there's every possibility that could happen, except for the fact that the Justice Department had already said that it had gone through all of this information and had not seen anything else that was actionable, any other reason to bring charges against anyone else. And that's the whole point. That's why the Justice Department said it was not necessary to release all of these investigative files, that anything that they have not taken action on yet, it means that there wasn't the necessary evidence or the wherewithal to bring anybody else to justice. So all of these names that could come out, that then implies that the Justice Department is saying these are people that we have looked at and determined that they did not need to be charged. Now, there could be other kinds of ramifications. For instance, Larry Summers, who was a Treasury Secretary under former President Clinton, he is named in these new emails that were just recently released by the House Oversight Committee that's been doing its own robust investigation. And because of his fairly frequent mention in those emails, even though he's not been accused of any wrongdoing, he did have ongoing communications with Epstein, even after some of these claims and accusations against Epstein were pretty well known. He has now stepped back from his public duties and stepped down from the board of OpenAI, a very high-profile company. So even if it's not criminal charges, there could be a lot of other consequences for people that come up in these files.
Got it. Alice, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you.